Very good evening to all of you. I am Nandan Abesurya, the President of the Society of Structural Engineers Sri Lanka. On behalf of the Society of Structural Engineers Sri Lanka, I warmly welcome all our past presidents, the executive committee members, the members of the associate chapter, also the delegate representing the sponsor today, that is Tokyo Cement Group, the invitees, practicing engineers, structural engineers, and all the students who are with us today for the November Question Time program. As you are aware, despite of the COVID situation, we have been able to conduct all our question time programs this year as per the schedule. And the sponsor of most of our question time programs is Tokyo Cement Group. The Tokyo Cement Group has been working with us very closely, even under the current situations. And they were the sponsor for the negotiations as well. So I'd like to show my gratitude to the Tokyo Cement Group, especially Mr. Billy Walpola, Engineer Janak, and Ms. Bhutmika for their untiring support. The topic today is technological advances and future trends in building facade systems with particular reference to Sri Lanka. So before I go into the introduction of the speaker today, there's a small announcement for our members. We are having our annual general meeting on 22nd December at Cinnamon Grand, subject to the permission given by the authorities. So other events also will be updated through our website and all the other medias. And the modulars also we have published as scheduled. So back to the topic today. It's going to be a very interesting topic and very a lot of you can gather a lot of information from this presentation. The speaker today is Engineer K.L. Sahabandhu. He is our immediate past president. Actually, Engineer Sahabandhu need no introduction. Everybody knows him. But as a formality, I will do a introduction. Engineer K.L. Sahabandhu obtained BSc Honours degree in Civil Engineering from the University of Peradeniya in 1980 and postgraduate diploma in Hydraulic Engineering from the University of Morocco in 1985. He obtained his master's degree in structural engineering from the University of Newcastle upon Tyne, UK in 1988, while winning the Patrick Parsons Prize for the best all-round academic performance in civil engineering department. He achieved his chartered engineer status by admitting himself to the corporate membership of the Institute of Engineers Sri Lanka and the Institute of Civil Engineers London in 1985. Engineer Sahabandhu worked in the Central Engineering Consultancy, which we call CCB, the largest engineering consultancy organized in Sri Lanka, about 39 years. And finally, as the general manager, until he retired on 18 June 2019. Presently, Engineer Sahabandhu works as the senior consultant to the Ministry of Urban Development and Housing, which is responsible for many major infrastructure development projects in Sri Lanka, such as Port City, Colombo Light Railway Transit, Strategic Cities Development, etc. Engineer K.L. Sahabandhu is an honorary fellow member of the Society of Structural Engineers Sri Lanka, a fellow of the Institute of Engineers Sri Lanka, and a member of the Institute of Civil Engineers London. He is also a member of the Association of Consulting Engineers Sri Lanka and the International Society for Soil Mechanics and Geotechnical Engineering. Also, the Sri Lankan Geotechnical Society and the Sri Lankan National Committee on Large Dams. So he is representing many institutions. On professional services, Engineer Sahabandhu is presently the immediate past president of the Society of Structural Engineers Sri Lanka, former vice president of the Sri Lanka National Committee of Large Dams, and the present vice president of the Sri Lanka Geotechnical Society. So recognizing his significant contribution to uplift of the construction industry and the profession of engineering in Sri Lanka, the Construction Industry Development Authority, we call CIDA, of Sri Lanka awarded once in the Lifetime Award of Eminence in 2016. Similarly, the Institute of Engineering Sri Lanka awarded him the Chartered Engineer Award for the year 2018 for his contributions in engineering to the motherland. So, without taking much time, I would like to invite Engineer Kehella Sahabantu to do the presentation, and you can use the chat option to raise all your questions so that we can answer very effectively. So, Engineer Kehella Sahabantu, over to you, sir.
Thank you, Engineer Nandan Abesurya, for your kind words about me. And today my presentation is on technological advances and future trends in building facade systems with particular reference to Sri Lankan conditions. The content of my presentation, I have divided it to 5 in a basic introduction. Then I will talk about Sri Lankan climate because I am talking this topic in reference to Sri Lankan situation. Then climatic responsive facade design approach. Then building facade of Sri Lanka, vernacular building facade, contemporary building facade, and futuristic approach. Then I will have concluding remarks at the end of my presentation. When we talk about building facade, why it is important? Building envelope of facade remains one of the most important exterior element for building functionality. While the facade is an elegant component that helps to define unique architectural aesthetics of the building, facade provides many key functions. Weather barrier against environmental factors such as wind, rain, temperature, and sound, then light and energy transmission to the interior space. It also has a critical role related to energy performance and interior function of a building. In recent years, facing the risk of global warming, depletion of fossil fuels, and greenhouse emissions, reduction in energy consumption, along with sustainable development, has become a priority for many countries, including Sri Lanka. Worldwide, building sector consumes 1/3 of total energy consumption. Thus, reducing energy consumption in buildings through climate responsive strategies without compromising human comfort is essential. Thus, improving facade performance will directly lead to energy efficiency of buildings. As facade is directly linked to the climate responsiveness, it is appropriate to consider climate situation of Sri Lanka. When you take the Sri Lanka climatic situation, Sri Lanka is an island lying between 6 to 10 of north latitude and between 80 to 82 east longitude, located in the Indian Ocean. It's probably known area of 65,000 square kilometers. Sri Lanka can divide into following climatic zones as indicated in the attached map: wet zone, intermediate zone, dry zone, and arid zone. Colombo is coming in within the wet zone area. According to the topography of Sri Lanka, it can be divided to 3 main areas: central islands, plains, and coastal belt. The topographical features strongly affect the spatial patterns of winds, seasonal rainfall, temperature, relative humidity, and other climatic elements, particularly during the monsoon season. The mountain affect the annual average temperature too, because at high altitude conditions are generally cooler with greater seasonal differentials than the steep constant year-round high experience on the coast. The north of the island is the hottest region, where temperatures have known to peak at 40 centigrade, while in mountains, the town of Nuwara lying at 1889 meters has an annual average temperature of 16 centigrade. Relative humidity levels in Sri Lanka typically range between 60 to 90% and generally higher in the southwest and central islands. The rainfall, governed by its tropical location as well as by the monsoon regime. 4 seasons: northeast monsoon, southeast monsoon, and 2 intermission sessions from March to April and October to November. The mean annual rainfall varies from under 900 millimeter in the driest part of the island over 5,000 millimeter in the wettest part of the country. You can see from the map how the rainfall has distributed across the island. This is the typical scenario in Colombo. You can see that we have temperature variation is something like less than 10 centigrade, and the rainfall varies from something like 350 millimeter to something like 100 millimeter if you take 1 month rainfall data. You can see it is a quite wet area when you consider the Colombo city. Rainfall coupled with high wind condition demands that the facade will be watertight. That is the situation we have to fulfill. The features to consider in facade design can be divided into 3: high temperatures, high relative humidity, high rainfall coupled with high wind condition. That is the situation in Sri Lanka. It is common in most part of the island and most time of the year. The climatic responsive facade design, that is another area I am going to discuss, how we should do the facade design to respond to climatic conditions. Through multi-pronged approach involving adoption of bioclimatic architectural principles responsive to the climate of particular location, such as sun path and wind flow pattern. Sustainable facade materials, efficient structural design, energy efficient building facade systems, and renewable energy sources to power the building. If you take bioclimatic architectural principle, the sun path play a major role. Depending on the sun path, the sun rays coming into the building will get control. Now, especially when sun moves from north to south or south to north, we get the sun direction in different way in different time of the year. That is, this figure gives you some idea about movement of sun and how the sun rays will come into the building. The temperature of a structure and living spaces increases due to solar radiation and affect internal environment of the building. Proper orientation considered in sun path provides natural ventilation and light, which is beneficial to the building inhabitants. The solar access of a particular site can be investigated using a computer model of the site and neighborhood, and also sun path diagram. Properly oriented building take advantage of solar radiation and prevailing wind. The long axis of the building should lie along east-west direction for minimum solar heat gain by the building envelope. You can see it from this diagram how the shadow of the building will move with the movement of the sun. Here also you can see yearly variation of the sun position will affect on the building. Now say if you have the windows on this side, and most of time you get sun rays into the building through these windows. Then if you talk about heat transmission, 3 methods of heat transmission through a facade. That is a radiation. If you describe radiation, when heat is transferred to the electromagnetic waves from the sun, radiation can transfer heat through empty space. while the other two methods require some form of matter-on-matter contact for the transfer. Convection. When heat flows through a heated solid. Conduction. When heated particles transfer heat to another substance, such as cooking something in boiling water. That is illustrated in this figure how this radiation, convection, and conduction will take place in a facade element. Then if you take the wind flow pattern, natural ventilation strategy will depend on the amount of wind flow at the site. Some sheltered sites may have to depend on temperature-driven ventilation as wind speeds may be too low. Other exposed sites may have wind speeds too high for simple windows that can be open and may require an engineer solution. In generally, what we can do is if you take a particular site, we can determine the windrows, that is we call windrows, and depending on the direction, we can see what kind of wind will come and affect on the building structure. Now, in this particular case, we can see from the south direction, we get a lot of wind, and if you take this between east and south, you get very less amount of wind effect on the building. This is another way of representing bill. You can study the windrows, and we can establish. Now I have taken the Kalutala area, how the wind pattern varies. You get most of time you get wind from western direction, and very rarely you get wind in other direction. That is also illustrated in probability wise in that chart. Now, if you talk about the climatic responsive material, we talk about sustainable facade material. Now, it is one material is conventional material such as wood, brick, and stone are considered as most sustainable facade material because these materials can stand without much maintenance for a very long period. Then stainless steel is a sort of modern material that is also is a very environmental friendly and very sustainable material and very popular in today's building construction, especially when it is exposed to the outside environment. Glass also play a very vital role in facade construction. Glass is recyclable, non-toxic, and tough to break. And when building glass does break, it is easy to replace, not like other elements. It can easily replace. And there are so many qualities and properties in glass. I will describe that in my presentation. You can see glass will reflect some solar energy and also absorb certain amount of solar energy into the building. Efficient structural design. The facade is the primary moderator of the environment, making building resistant to adverse forces such as wind, rain, flood, and sunlight. It also should protect the occupant from external forces such as blast, fire, chemicals, noise, vibration, smoke, theft, dirt, accumulation, wear and tear. On the other side, facade may account for up to 25% of total construction costs and are the largest single determinant of building performance. Thus, designing the facade to withstand all the external forces through proper structural design is very essential. Detailed structural design of the facade is needed to cater for the challenging designs of modern facades too. Energy efficient building facade system, shading device. Daylight enhancing shades, protect windows from solar glare, preserve sky view, reflect daylight and reduce glare. Those are the targets we must have when we talk about the shading systems. An internal shaded layer behind the window or an in-between shading layer separate two glazing panes can reduce heat gain. Those you can see from there is some curtain between two glass panels. Those things can be controlled manually or automatically depending on the sunlight conditions. Then horizontal shades protect facade from high sun. Vertical shade protect facade from low sun. Movable shading devices can provide more flexible and responsive solar control. In this case, you can see horizontally oriented lure systems. And previous slide, we have seen the vertical lure system, and that is good to protect from low sun. Then we talk about overhangs and canopies. Those are also play a vital role in controlling sun rays into the building. Overhangs and canopies are used to shade windows. They are designed considering angle of sun during particular day. You can see different shape of hangs and canopies in these diagrams. Some canopies are erected on top of the windows. Some are on the side of the windows. And also you can see that in between also you can fix the sunsets, and those will reduce the unnecessary heat gain in the building due to the sun rays. Lures can be tightly spaced near the buildings, so shade the eye sun and loosely spaced further away to reduce heat transfer from it to the interior space. This is another part in the solar energy. We can see solar energy consists of ultraviolet light, visible light, and infrared light. This yellow part is the visible light. That is a useful part of the sun rays. This the red part will normally give the heat into the building. What we have to do, whatever our facade system must encourage this visible light come into the building, and while arresting the ultraviolet light and the infrared light coming into the building. This is another picture how the different kind of window glasses can filter the sun rays, and they will allow mainly visible light come into the building, but you can't avoid of other light also coming into the building, but you can minimize using the different kind of glass in facade or window system. Now, if you talk about energy efficient glazing, such as low E glass, block a portion of the UV and infrared light while allowing the high percentage of visible light to come through. This means less artificial lighting, a reduction in long wave heat gain or loss, increased comfort, productivity for building occupants, and overall reduction in energy usage. Spaces with low cooling loads, glazing with low solar gain coefficient and reflective outer surface. Thermochromic, there are three different families in glass. They are called thermochromic glass, reflect light when needed. Electrochromic glass, change color, that will also reduce the light or heat coming into the building. Prismatic glass, optimize daylight. Spaces with heat-in load, glazing with ISCGC. It may be necessary to verify the glazing visual transmission, depending on the window orientation, space light conditions, and occupant lighting needs. Now you can see, I mean, the depending on the sun path and on the orientation of the building, you can use the solar panels in the roof area that will make energy for the usage of the building occupants. But in Sri Lanka, most of the time, it is always better if we can orient the solar panel into the north direction, because the sun is most of the time in the south hemisphere of the world. Now we talk about the history of the facade in Sri Lanka, why it is important. Learning from tradition wisdom of previous generation through the lessons from tradition buildings can be a very powerful tool for improving the building facade of the future. It is generally held view that in tropical countries, traditional house is more sympathetic to prevailing climate and provide comfortable interiors. In Sri Lankan vernacular architecture, following features were always at the forefront due to high comfort for building occupant, good indoor air quality, low energy consumption. Then what are the salient feature in our ancient kind of construction? We have thick solid masonry walls, provide high thermal mass and low thermal conductivity. Long eaves and balconies protect facades, that is walls and fenestrations. Verandas and colonnades serve as shade into facades. Courtyards use natural ventilation to make living more comfortable when it is hot. Canopies and grillworks protective windows. These are some examples in our Sri Lankan buildings in past. Maybe these buildings are done about at least 75 years before. We can see long eaves, verandas, and thick masonry walls are the common features in this building construction. You can see the first figure. You can see long eaves and verandas, and also thick masonry walls and grillworks. All those things will give protection for the sun heat rays come into the building. If you take the old Parliament building, also you can see colonnades that will give some kind of protection to the windows in the building. If you come to the contemporary architectural buildings, now I will take the very first building which has been considered in an environmental situation, that is possess a particular adaptation of climate and orientation, not present in most tower buildings. I mean, which was done in that era, evidence in the ecological sensitivity characteristic of Bava's practice. This building was designed by Bava, famous architect in Sri Lanka, and he has given due consideration to reduce the solar energy come into the building, also give the very good ventilation into the building without air conditioning system. The flattened lozenge of shape of the building maximize the northern and southern exposures while limiting western and eastern exposures. That's how the building has been orientated. This orientation both reduces solar gain and takes advantage of the prevailing air currents to provide passive ventilation. This is how the facade has been constructed, and it has ventilation holes in this area, and the air can come this way and goes above that level. This is the window area. Deep concrete panels provide additional shading and regulate air intake to louvers below the vision glass of the windows. The windows are operable on all floors of the tower, pivoting around their central axis to allow building occupants to regulate cross ventilation. That is a very prominent building, and also this is the first building in Sri Lanka what is done in contempt by the architects, where the natural ventilation has been guaranteed from the design. This is another typical example. It was done. This building was done in 1960s. The Intercontinental Hotel, now it is called not Hilton, Kingsburg, no? Kingsburg Hotel. There also you can see concrete sunshade fixed on top as well as one side of the window depending on the sun path. I mean, especially sun is moving from this side to that side, and because of the side sunshade, and most of the sun rays is blocked from this concrete sunshades. This is another example, National Archives, where the colonnade at ground level and also vertical concrete pergolas at upper floor levels to shade glazed windows. This is another example. This is Marvel Center. This is, I think, this was built in 1980. That has a staggered floor arrangement, long eaves as shading technique. Also, monkey roof gives the natural ventilation due to the stack effect. This is the new central bank building where the salient features of the facade we can categorize: precast concrete sunshades, stainless steel louvers, stainless steel catwalk, double glazed windows, and tile finished precast concrete facade walls. It's a very modern kind of facade system. I will explain a little bit more about that. We can see this the white color aggregate exposed concrete precast concrete facade that will block the sun rays, and also there is a 3 more lines of stainless steel louvers that will also cut down the sun rays coming into the windows. And again, we have a catwalk here. The idea of the catwalk that will reduce the sun rays coming into the windows, as well as it will give the access to the cleaning purpose of the windows. And tile finished precast concrete also gives the maintenance-free facade for this building. Then another example, the CCB new building at Bauddhaloka Mawatha, that was done about 10 years back. There also you can see double skin facade consists of sun shading balconies and louvers protecting inner facade, where you can see the louvers there, and also the cantilever balcony that cut down the sun rays coming into the window system. Low E and double glazed window and curtain wall system, and that gives the reduction of sunlight and glare coming into the building. Then masonry wall was constructed with clay brick. I mean, instead of cement blocks, that was the original idea. We changed it to the brick because to achieve low conductivity. When we run the model, we can see that when you change certain materials, it will improve the temperature condition inside the building. This is the another photograph of the same building. Shading and high performance glazing and shading balconies and louvers were used for building envelope to maximize the utilization of visible light while limiting infrared radiation to the building. Minimum daylight illumination level of 20-foot candles have been achieved in 75% of the all regularly occupied areas. When you talk about the futuristic approach, challenging factors can be categorized into 3. From social perspective, there is a need to achieve a high level of user well-being and indoor environmental quality. At the same time, from an environmental perspective, there is a need to reduce building energy consumption and neutralize building-related environmental impacts. Several innovative building envelope technologies concepts have been proposed as solution to improving indoor comfort conditions and reducing the environmental impact during the life cycle of buildings. Particularly, the integration of passive and active design technologies in the building envelope is gaining attention from the research and development community. When we talk about futuristic approach, dynamic facade or adaptive facades are the terminology we use for the modern dynamic facades. Thus, dynamic facade or adaptive facade, as defined by the European COC Action TU1403, have profound effect on achieving the 3 performance requirement in terms of occupant satisfaction, energy savings, and environmental impact neutralization. Those are the 3 main things. In addition to the architectural aspiration, we have to satisfy these 3 conditions. Adaptive facades are building envelopes that are able to adapt to change boundary condition in the form of short-term weather fluctuations, diurnal cycles, or seasonal patterns. Dynamic facade or adaptive facade can be categorized under dynamic shadings, chromogenic facades, solar active facade, active ventilated facades. Those are the example for the 4 categories. we can see that this the shading systems. We can see this different coloring system of chromogenic facade. Then we have solar active facade where you can see solar panels there, and active ventilated facade where you can see we have the openings in the facade. These are the future trend. Also, if you consider the international scenario, these are adapted in international buildings some time back, but in Sri Lanka, still these things are new, except one or two situations. I will go to details in my next slides about these facade systems. If you talk about dynamic shading facade, under the dynamic shading category, 4 adaptive facade technology composed of movable parts are present, namely shutters, roller blinds, Venetian blinds, closed cavity facade, naturally activated, typically associated with the blind integrated in glazing. These movable parts can be motorized or manually activated by occupants. All of these technologies obstruct sunlight. They aim to control daylight, participate in thermal insulation, summer comfort, or cooling savings. Now, some example for the dynamic shading facades. This is a Al Bahr Tower in Abu Dhabi. You can see the shading system can move depending on the sunlight conditions. And when we have sunlight coming into the building, this will get automatically closed. But when it is not that much, it will get open and allow some light to come into the building. This is, I think everybody would have seen, most of people have seen this building. This is a Singapore Esplanade theater, where you can see elaborate skin inspired by durian fruit. That is the concept there. The external shading system is also responsive in that triangle lures adjust during the day to the sun's angle and position. These are movable kind of lure system. Then when we talk about chromogenic facade, we have 3 categories: chemical aspect, namely electrochromic glazing, liquid crystal glazing, and thermochromic glazing. These technologies are not internal or external to the building, but directly integrated in the glazing. That is a property of the glazing actually. Their physical property can change according to the level of voltage and power changing the appearance of the glazing itself, making it more or less transparent. This is a kind of example where we can control the transparency of these glasses depending on the solar condition. There are various techniques used there, and I have mentioned 3 main techniques normally used in this kind of glass. Then we will talk about solar active facades. The 4 technologies are present: building integrated PV, double skin facades, green facade and roof, and phase change material. The first 3 are external technologies that are directly in contact with sunlight. Double skin facade and green facade and roof obstruct sunlight, thus they also achieve sunlight control and summer and winter comfort goals. These are some examples where you can see small solar panels are connected to the facade that will generate energy when you get enough sunlight, and also it will give the shading effect to the building. This is another example in Korea. This is the building is I think about 800 feet tall, and the entire building has this kind of arrangement where you can see solar panels on this part of the facade, and you have the glasses in this part of the facade, and this will generate electricity, and this will also control the because of the shape of the glass, it is inclined, and much of solar rays will not come into the building. This is also a different kind of solar activated facade where they have the combined with the natural ventilation, and also we have the solar active glass there, and then we have the inside there is another glass, and it is a semi-transparent kind of glass, and this will also control sunlight coming into the building, and also it will generate the electricity. But you need very high investment cost. That is the main disadvantage of this kind of system. And this is another different kind of glass where you have the water inside, and because of the heat gaining through the sunlight, they generate hot water that will be used by the building occupants. And also because we are using the pure water, and quality of daylight is enhanced since water affect very little on visible light spectrum. Useful heat gain for hot water supply. Then another technique we use in the building, that is called double skin facade and ventilation. Sometimes depending on the ventilation system, and it will you can divide it to 5 categories, where in this case you have the exhaust air will go to the double facade, I mean the cavity, and that will cool the facade area. And like that, you can have different kind of system where you can get the cooling effect of the in the building. If you take the living example, now if you take the Shanghai Center Tower in China, you get a very large atrium where you get double facade, double skin, and the skin will provide the protection to the interior facade that will cut down the heat coming into the building. And if you consider the Burj Khalifa in Dubai, that has a different methodology concept, where you have 2 glasses, and in between those 2 facades, you have the sunsets, you have the louvers. These louvers can move also, depending on the sun rays. You can cut down the solar energy completely using these louvers, what is in between these 2 glasses. When we talk about active ventilator facade, 2 technologies are generally present. One is active ventilator closed cavity facade, that is called CCF, and automated operable windows. These 2 technologies are based on ventilation. In the case of actively ventilated CCF, the aim is to control the airflow inside the cavity, whereas in automated operable windows, the aim is to control the air entering the building. There are 2 different concepts we will consider it. Now, this is what we have described earlier, double facade, where you get the natural kind of ventilation through the 2 facade system. But in the CCF technology, you will not have the natural kind of airflow, but artificial airflow will give the this. I will read this part. This insight created a new idea of double skin facade type called closed cavity facade, abbreviated CCF. The combination of the advantage of single skin facade with those of double skin facade led to non-ventilated double skin with very good heat insulation to the inside and larger depth of outside. The advantage of this facade, you can send the air which is controlled to control the heat generation to the facade into the building. This is some example in this building. This is in Austria. The facade type closed cavity facade avoids the pollution of its inside surfaces as it is not exposed to ventilation. Condensation is suppressed with the supply of dried air to the inside, but the amount is very low. As the unit is constructed to be almost airtight, the good sound insulation and sun shading properties of double skin facade are maintained. If one needs possibility of a natural ventilation, an openable flap can be combined with CCF element that under normal circumstances will not be openable. The supply of dry air controlled with its dew points temperature to outside the surface temperatures. The larger is chosen so-called dew point distance to the critical surface temperature. For example, the inside of the outer single glacier. The safer the design is prepared against impairment of view by condensation, a fact that bothers with many not so well designed ventilated double skim facade. Two fundamentally different systems are available in the market today. One system produces dry air in local units, other with central units. This is another system again in Austria, and where they use the central air system to make the dry air, which will be sent to the cavity of the facade. This is the other method where you use automated control louvers, where you allow natural air to come into the building. Window automation can incorporate almost any type of window, but it most often associated with architectural glass louvers or in windows or the combination of both. And this is another technique where you have this automated operable windows. Then living wall system. The use of vertical greening has an important impact on the thermal performance of buildings. Plants are functioning as a solar filter or sunscreens and help to prevent absorption of heat radiation by building facade material extensively. This is a comparison of those facades, but unfortunately it is not very clear to read out. It gives the advantages and disadvantages of each facade system. When we talk about the construction side of that, we can use different techniques. Now, one is the precast concrete. Now, we know, especially in high-rise building, doing in situ kind of construction is very, very difficult. And also, it is not safe to people to work in a very in high elevations. And because of that, this precast technology has become very popular in most of developed countries. In Sri Lanka also, some of our buildings, especially some of buildings done in 1960s, also in recent past, the Central Bank Extension Building, World Trade Center, we have used completely precast elements. That is actually we do it in a yard or the different place and transport to the site and erect at the site at the facade elevation. And you can get very, very good quality facade using the precast concrete. And you can get different finishes. I will describe it later. Now, this is another system where you can see three-dimensional kind of effect has been achieved with the precast elements. And also, you can see this is a white color concrete. And it basically, it is a very durable kind of, sustainable kind of facade system. This is another diagram where you can see three-dimensional effect of the facade. This is a single element, and it has been facade has been done with the combination of these elements. This is, you can here see precast elements are used as a decorative panels, and we use in different color of cement, also different kind of aggregates. You can see the kind of finishes you can get with the precast concrete, and in some cases we use exposed aggregate, some cases we use recessed finishes, some cases we use terrazzo finishes. In Sri Lanka, we can see exposed aggregate finish in Central Bank Building, and we can see terrazzo finish in World Trade Center. The main advantage of this facade is these are mainly maintenance free, and you don't have to paint it regularly, but only thing is you need some kind of washing with high-speed jet to remove the dust and other material, outside material. Now I will move to the different technique where we can use glass curtain system. Generally, glass curtain system can be divided to 5 categories: mullions, trusses, mass trusses, cable trusses, cable mullions. Those are the different families you get in glass curtain wall systems. Now, these are some pictures about each system. Now, if you take mullions, it can be a metal fin, maybe steel or aluminium. It can be a glass film system also. In that case, it will be very transparent. And when it comes to truss system, you can see trusses are very large spans. You have to put the trusses like that, and then you have to connect the glasses into that. This is a mass truss system where you have the two cables, and at the center you have one mass. This also gives the lateral stability, and it can take bending when you get the lateral loads on the window system, facade system. This is a cable truss system where you get two cables connected with rods, and that also act. I will show a diagram how it will act during the wind conditions. This is a cable mullion where you have the pre-tension wires, and those wires are connected to the glass panels. This is a glass fin system. I have given some more details about glass fin system. Everybody has seen this kind of system. It is quite popular in Sri Lanka, and but not much use. But we have a number of buildings with this kind of systems. Most of time, this glass facade is suspended because it is easy to design for the tension in this facade system rather than design it for compression, because if you design it for compression, you have to consider the buckling effect. Lateral support is provided by tempered glass fins. Glass panels are connected to glass fin by spiders. Those are the spiders. This is the spider cable system where you can see a different kind of geometry used in this kind of system. It can be either horizontal direction or vertical direction. In this case, it is spanned from this point to that the bottom point. Here also the same, but here it has been supported in horizontal direction. Cable trusses in both vertical and horizontal direction can be formed to provide restriction against lateral movement. This is the mechanics or structural principle behind this cable structural system or truss system. Now, in truss system, you can see when the wind in one direction, in one element you get tension, the other element you get those are the bracings, you get compression. You can design it neglecting compression member sometime, but sometimes people use both. And if you take the mass truss system, where you get when you have the wind in this direction, you get tension in that direction, and basically this compression in that cable is not very effective, but the compression force will be taken by the glass panel. But in the cable truss system, it is also same. One wire is effective when you have the wind on that direction, but if you have suction, this wire will get the tension, and this wire will not be very effective. And this is how this system will work, and this is how it will be connected to the glass panel to the structural system. Talking about selection of glazing, low E coating also can be specified to shade a higher fraction of heat carrying infrared radiation while permitting more visible light to pass through. That I have already discussed in my previous slide, because of that I am not going to talk much about it. And also you can see these are the standard glasses where you can see a lot of heat coming into the building. But if you use low E glasses, you can see there is a reduction of all kind of sun rays, but significantly UV rays, and the heat will be cut off by the low E glasses. This is also another picture. Select insulated low E glazing unit to reduce thermal loads and provide better comfort to the perimeter zones. Low emissivity coatings and argon between paints can dramatically increase the thermal performance. Low E coating also can be specified to shade a higher fraction of the heat carrying infrared radiation while permitting more visible light to pass through. I am coming to the end of my presentation. Before finishing it, I like to have my concluding remarks. A building facade remains one of the most important exterior elements for building functionality and is directly linked to climate responsiveness. In the Sri Lankan context, high temperatures, high relative humidity, high rainfall coupled with high wind conditions are the salient climatic features which need to be considered in the facade design. In particular, rainfall coupled with high wind condition of Sri Lanka demands that facade be watertight. Climate responsive facade design is effected through a multi-pronged approach involving adoption of bioclimatic architectural principles, sustainable facade materials, efficient structural design, energy efficient building facade system, and renewable energy sources to power the building. 6 solid masonry wall, long eaves and balconies, verandas and colonnades, courtyards, canopies, and grills have been the salient features of vernacular's building facade in Sri Lanka. Precast concrete sunset, stainless steel louvers, stainless catwalk, double glazed windows, tile finished precast concrete facade all have become features of contemporary building facade in Sri Lanka. Decorative precast concrete panel, double screen glazing system, dynamic green and advanced window system with see-through photovoltaic glazing, water-flow windows with enclosed loop have been identified as prospective futuristic approaches for building facade in Sri Lanka. Thank you very much. And now it is time for question and answers.
Thank you very much, Mr. Savandu, for the very wonderful speech. I would like to ask from you, what do you think about this double facade for Sri Lankan context?
Yeah, it has certain advantage. Now, if you take consider the Hong Kong climate, it is similar to Sri Lankan climate, and they have used double facade in some of their high-rise buildings, and it has two barriers. It may be expensive initially, but it has two barriers, and one will give the first protection, and the second one will give the second protection. Also because of the air movement in between the facade, it will get cooling action, and because of that, it will not get accumulated in between the two glasses. Now, basically, when you have the when we don't ventilate it, it will accumulate it, and then it will get affected to the inside of the building. But if you have the air movement, whatever natural or artificial, it will have the definite benefit to the comfort of the building.
What I thought was, Ms. Savandu, if you have a double facade, actually you can reduce the cost of the facade, because you can use a normal. You don't need high performance glass to the facade. So because you basically naturally control the light and also the heat gain into the building.
But what I have seen in most of countries, they have used special glasses because of the. You can. I agree with your point. I mean, but still, with that, even my slide also, you can see that double. I mean, the facade system. They have used. See, now you can see here. They have laminated glass there, and now again here also you have some kind of reflection in the first layer. But as you now here also you can see thermal some kind of treatment in this glass there. But I agree with you. But whatever said and done, when you have two facade, now even even central bank, even in this CCB building, we have two layers of facade. Maybe those are not the cavity type facades, but one, the outer side gives the shading effect, inside gives the air tightness and the water tightness. But still, I mean, having those things will increase the investment initial cost, but it will give the long, I mean, the lifetime cost reduction, because it will reduce the heat coming into the building and your air conditioning loading, and because of that there can be a saving when you consider the lifespan of the building.
There's another question for you, Mr. Savandu, from Udyang Alvis. That is, what is the general design life of a curtain wall or a glass facade?
Yeah, because glass facade is involve not only glass or not only aluminum or metal. It has rubber beadings and plastic beading, that kind of thing. But normally, this kind of things will last about 20-25 years. You may have to have some kind of replacement. But also you have to keep in mind, most of buildings, they change the facade with time because they thinking and the material thing will vary. Maybe they will keep the structure, but they might change the facade. In most of developed countries, sometimes they change the facade in every 15 or 20 years. And that is the kind of trend. And glass may last. I don't think glass has a problem. But the other accessories connected with the facade may have a limited lifetime. Maybe you can't go like 50 years of lifetime of the concrete or steel for this kind of facade. But it is a trend. I mean, even building function might change within 10 or 15 years, and people need a different look actually. And when you have more innovative kind of material, and that is that you can't change actually.
Any other questions, please?
Yeah, I think my presentation is not very on structural subject, but this is something is useful. And also we, as structural engineers, we have to involve in this facade designs because the facade, I mean, the very complicated, sophisticated kind of structural design come into the picture. It may not be like designing the tall building or structural frame, but you have to detail it. I remember when I work on the central bank building facade, so many things, so many details, even a small thing you have to design, you have to see the durability and the sustainability and all that. And because of that facade design, no, in most of countries they have uh, engineers called facade engineers, but in Sri Lanka we don't have the special people like that. But our people get involved in the facade design. But it is very important that we also improve the knowledge on facade. Now, I can't see any facade, glass facade or this cable kind of facade is designed by Sri Lankans. I don't know. I mean, I don't have any record. Most of the time it is done in Singapore or some other countries. But it is a time that our people also get, I mean, it is a principally, it is not a rocket science. It is a very simple structural principle. But we need some we have to gain some kind of experience, or at least we must be able to review the structural design done by the contractor when we go with the special kind of sophisticated kind of facade systems.
Yes, Abadu, I also have a small question. Generally, as a tropical country, uh, in some of the high-rise buildings, even middle-scale building, we are using the full face as facade. But I think you are inviting more heat and uncomfort to the buildings. The UDA regulation is therefore minimum window area with proportional to the floor area. Is there any limit for maximum window area? Because I mean,
May
is
I
there any
answer?
limitation for that?
No, at the moment there is nothing like that. Now, if you go to the any developed country like Germany, because I am little familiar with German condition, they have a regulation that I mean, you cannot use the energy per square foot is limited. You can't use more than that. For say heating or air conditioning, there's a limit. You can go for that, and to get that one, you need certain facade technology. You have to have shading technology. Now I have visited when we were doing the central bank building. That was in 90s. I have visited several times to the several buildings in Germany, and most of buildings, they have shading devices. And also they have cavity, I mean, the double glaze windows, and also they have rubber beadings to control the air movements between inside and outside of the building. And they control the maximum energy unit per square foot. There is nothing called maximum size of windows. I have seen some buildings have 100% glass, but energy-wise, they have to control that. I mean, the facade is built with transparent glasses. I mean, the fully transparent glasses, full area. But still, the energy unit is controlled by the regulation. And in Sri Lanka, we have the minimum. The minimum is given for the ventilation purpose to get the proper air into the building. But maximum, I don't think it is the right thing to control it, because then you will tie the hands of the architect who create the buildings. And but we can control the energy consumption. That we can have the maximum consumption limit per square foot. That's how other countries, they control the energy. I mean, they enhance the design using that kind of regulation.
Thank you very much for your explanation. Engineer Shiromal, there are some questions in the chat.
Yeah, I can.
There is a question from Engineer Lionel Gunavikrama. Considering the current world situation, any possibility in within brackets public buildings adaptation and transformation in response to COVID-19? I heard some news from Canada.
I don't know anything about that. If Mr. Lionel can be given a little bit of time, he can explain it, no? Can you on his mic? Is it connected with the facade?
Obviously, more sunlight is better for the COVID-19, but it's not good for air conditioning.
Yeah, that is correct. But thing is, it is not only sunlight. There are so many other things affect the COVID-19, and especially movement of people, their behavior. Sunlight will kill virus, but only thing is in a building, sunlight will come only at the perimeter, not at the inside of the building. No, I mean we have limitation, but maybe Mr. Lionel must know a little bit more than that.
There's another question, Ms. Savandu, from Engineer Udayanga Alvis. Is it safe to use fully tempered glass in facade of high-rise buildings, or need to use laminated glass considering the pedestrian safety during the damage in disasters? Are there any regulations in Sri Lanka for this?
I agree. Laminated glass have the safety criteria, but in general, we don't have that kind of regulation as far as I know. But most of glasses used in Sri Lanka are generally, we have used even normal glass also, and we have tempered glass. Tempered glass, the advantage of tempered glass is it is stronger than normal glass, and also in case of damage, it will go to the small pieces. But it is always better if you can use laminated glass. I think there is no doubt about it. We generally use laminated glass. I mean, where the people are moving and where glass can get damaged because of the outside forces. And also we use laminated glass against the explosives and that kind of thing. But when the thing is, we can go with high specification, but the cost factor also has to be considered. The glass is a quite expensive material, especially when you go with toughened glass, laminated glass, wire glass. All those things is safer, but it will also attach with the cost factor.
Any other questions?
Engineer Shiromal, there is a question in the chat from one Netrika Patkunam. Can you go to chat and see? There are a few questions.
Chat. Manjula Kumar asking, what is the minimum glass thickness recommended for high-rise buildings?
Generally, I mean, the 6 millimeter will be the minimum, but I don't know. It all depends on the structural design also. I mean, the something like 6 to 8 may be the minimum, but again, depending on the, now if you have very large panels without support, you may even go 10, 12 millimeters. Depend on the situation. But I think minimum, I don't know whether there's a regulation, but generally we go with something like minimum as 6 actually.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yeah,
Hello?
yeah, I can hear you.
Mr. Andra, I can't get this other person's question. I don't see that.
No, may I read, Shiromal? There is a question.
Okay.
Placing solar panel at rooftop come under facade to save energy. We can put solar glass panels at facade to store energy. I couldn't get that question. Normally, you can't store no solar. You can, if you want to store, you must need some kind of water, kind of thing. But I don't know what it. That is Nertika Patkunam. Can you read?
Maybe she's asking whether this glass can be used, solar glass can be used to store energy, electrical energy.
No, it cannot. It can produce energy, but if you combine with water, it can store some water. Like making. I have in my one of my slides, it is there. I mean, you can eat the water, and that can be used at your water system. And but at the same time, you can use solar kind of solar panels where it can generate energy. There is another question. No, that's all, no? No, yeah, that's all, yeah.
So if there are no questions,
Mr. Lionel didn't give any explanation, no?
shall we wind up the session? No. Ms. Avan?
Yeah, it's okay. For me, it's okay.
Right. Okay, so on behalf of the Society of Structural Engineers, we would like to thank you for the wonderful lecture that you have given us. So your experience is very much valued by our society members and also the general public. Also, we would like to thank the Tokyo Cement who has sponsored this session, and they are always with the society and helping the structural engineering community, of course, with their product as well as these kind of events. So thank you very much for all the people, engineers and outsiders who joined the session. Hope you have enjoyed the question time, and hope to see you all in the next question, right? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Shiromal.
Thank you, Vishal. Stop.